If you haven't decided on what to prepare for your Thanksgiving dinner, then stay tuned and I'll show you exactly how I prepared this beautiful plate right here. Now today we're making some collard greens and I'm using the bag because I'm taking the easy route today. And I like these because they come very finely shredded, just the way I like to chop up my fresh greens. Now for the meat, we're going to be using some turkey tails, mainly because of the fat content that turkey tails carry. We'll also be using a turkey wing in addition to the turkey tails, just for the extra meat. Okay, now let's get these turkey wings seasoned up. I have about 6 to 8 tablespoons of olive oil right here, and I'm going to mix those with all of my spices. Don't worry, I'm going to leave a link in the description down below where you can find the exact spices and the exact measurements to this recipe. And I'll be doing that for each of the sides that I have in this video. Now, once you get all your spices in the cup with the olive oil, you just want to take a spoon and stir it together and make sort of a paste. And you're going to rub down your turkey wings really well. You want to put a good coating of this marinade on top of them, put them to the side on the countertop, let them rest for 2 to 3 hours until they're ready to go into the oven. Now let's check on these turkey tails. They've been boiling for approximately an hour and a half. And I know you're saying, wow, that's a whole lot of meat in that pot. But that's how I create a really good broth, and you won't have to add as much salt or seasoning to it to bring out the flavor of your greens. So what I did here was took all of my meat out of the pot so that I can put in my collard greens. And here they are right here, looking all pretty and green and fresh. They're all washed up and ready to go into my pot liquor. Now I will be adding a few spices to this pot liquor, and that will be some crushed red pepper because it not only adds heat but it adds a lot of flavor. I'm also adding some chicken bouillon powder, but you could also use a chicken bouillon cube. I love the flavor that my Lowry seasoned salt gives my greens, but of course use whatever seasoning salt that you prefer. And I'm adding a little bit of black pepper. Now you just want to combine everything together, and when this comes to a simmer or boil, then it's time to add in your greens. Get all your greens into the pot. Even if you have a lot of greens, just pack them in real good. They will start to steam and shrink down as they cook. Cover them with a lid and we'll come back and check on them in an hour. Now what I have here are the ingredients for my cornbread dressing. So in this pan, I have some butter and some olive oil heating up. And what I'm going to do is take those vegetables and basically I'm just going to sweat them out until they're about 3/4 of the way done. Now you want to do this on a medium heat. You don't want this to brown on the bottom. You just want this to simmer so that the vegetables will start to soften. Now I'm going to take the same spices that I added to my chicken and add them to these vegetables. Then after we steam these for an extra 5 minutes, we're going to then combine that with our cornbread so that we can put our dressing together. Okay, here we have our cooked vegetables. We have our cornbread that I baked and chopped up into small pieces. Here in this pot, I have my fresh broth. And in this bowl is our shredded meat and some carrots that I'm going to be throwing into the dressing as well. So now all you do is combine your cornbread with your vegetables and your shredded chicken, along with however much broth you want to add to your cornbread. You may like your dressing more on the dry side, or you might like it a little bit runny. I tend to like my dressing a little more on the tight side, a little dry. So first thing I do is I alter my cornbread dressing recipe. And instead of it being the normal recipe that you would use for regular cornbread, I use more cornmeal than I do flour. I also like to let my dressing sit on the side for about 15 minutes before it goes into the oven. That way I have a better judgment of knowing just about how much more broth I may or may not need. At this point, you want to taste your dressing before putting it into the oven. That way you can adjust your spices as needed. After you do that, then you want to take all of your shredded meat and add it to your cornbread dressing and combine it well. Set your oven at 375 degrees. I'm using a glass baking dish, and this will bake for approximately 30 to 40 minutes. Our turkey wings are ready to come out of the oven, and we're going to get started with our gravy. So in this pan, I have about a half a cup of vegetable oil, and I'm adding approximately a quarter of a cup to a half a cup of self-rising flour. Now, if you don't need that much gravy, then you just cut the portions down. But I want a lot of gravy because we want to put some gravy over our rice. I want some gravy on my dressing, and so on and so forth. Now I'm going to season up this gravy because, yes, the turkey wings do have some seasonings on them already, but you don't want your gravy to be bland. So I'm basically going to add the same spices that I put on my turkey wings. And that's some salt, pepper, some Cajun seasoning, some garlic powder. The full recipe can be found on my original smothered turkey wing video, and I will leave the link down below for you to go over there and watch the full video. So here, once you've gotten all your spices in, you just want to cook it for a good 5 to 10 minutes until it starts to thicken up and get to a deep brown color. Now you're going to add in your onions. You don't need to fully cook the onions. You just want to saute them until they start to get a little bit soft and extract some of that onion flavor out of them. So that takes probably 8 to 10 minutes. Just keep stirring them so that your gravy doesn't burn or scorch at the bottom. Now we're going to introduce our liquids. That could be water or chicken broth, but I'm going to add water this time because I did add a good amount of spices. And you will be able to tell if you need any more salt or any spices when you taste the gravy before it goes into the oven. So you just want to add your liquids a little bit at a time so that it will be easier to keep your gravy smooth. Now, once you get all of your liquid in, it will start to look very thin and watery, just like you see here. But don't worry about that, because once it gets up to temperature in the oven and starts to simmer, it will turn into a beautiful, smooth brown gravy. So I'm going to take a couple of pieces of foil and place over top of here and seal around the edges really tight so that all the steam will stay inside. And then we're going to put this in the oven for approximately another hour and a half until it's tender and falling off the bone. Now we're going to make some candied yams. First, you're going to peel your sweet potatoes and give them a quick rinse. Now I like to cut mine in measurements of about 3/4 of an inch. You can cut yours thinner or thicker, leave them round or in chunks. It's your preference. I have my sweet potatoes in a bowl, and that's how I like to season mine. I like to get my cinnamon, my nutmeg, my cloves, and all those other ingredients that I add to my candied yams, and I put them all in this bowl, and I like to shake it up, and that way it coats every sweet potato that's in the bowl, and then I dump it onto the pan along with a little bit of extra sugar, cover it with some foil, and put it into the oven. Let's check on our greens. These greens are looking good and smelling good. I'm just adding the meat back to the pot, and they have another hour to go. Now we'll make our macaroni and cheese. The cheeses that I'm using for this recipe are sharp cheddar, mild cheddar, Monterey Jack, and some Velveeta. But of course, you could use the cheeses of your choice. I've already boiled my macaronis ahead of time, and I'm adding in 1/4 of a stick of butter. I like to add this in the macaroni when it's still warm. That way it melts down really quick. I'm gonna season it with a little bit of black pepper, some salt, and a little bit of garlic powder, and let it sit here while I shred my cheese. If you've gotten any value out of this video at all, please click like or click share and share this with a friend or family member who you feel would also like this type of video. Now we have our cheeses and our noodles ready to go. So now we can go ahead and assemble this macaroni and cheese. Just add your cheeses to the pot with your warm noodles. With 2 eggs, you're gonna need 1 cup of evaporated milk, and you're also gonna need 1 cup of whole milk. Stir to combine, cover it with some foil, and put it in the oven at 400 degrees for 30 minutes. Hang on in there. This dinner is almost complete. All we have to do now is finish up our black-eyed peas and some white rice, and then it'll be time to eat. Okay, so I have a ham hock in this pot already, and I've already boiled this for about an hour and a half. I took my peas and I went through them, cleaned them up real good, and now it's time to put them into the pot. To add some extra flavor, I'm gonna add about 1/4 cup of white onion and 1 packet of this Goya ham flavored seasoning. I'm also adding some black pepper and a little bit of garlic powder. Now just cover this up and let it simmer on a medium-low temperature for about 2.5 hours or until they're as tender as you like them. And last but not least, I'm gonna make a small pot of white rice. After all, we're gonna need something to put that gravy on and those black-eyed peas. So all I need to do here is after the water boils, add in about a teaspoon of salt and then pour in your rice. Stir it up really good, put the lid on it, and let that simmer for about 25 minutes. It's time to take these turkey wings out. Look how good this gravy turned out. Now I cannot wait to put that over top of my dressing. And the turkey wings were so moist and tender. Now that everything is done cooking, let's go make a plate. I really enjoyed making this meal for you guys, and I hope that this gave you some ideas of what to make for Thanksgiving. I will put links down below in the description box for all of the different sides that you see here in this meal so that you can go over and watch the full video step by step, and that way you'll be sure to have the right recipe and be sure that your meal comes out properly. I hope you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving, and if you try any of my recipes for your Thanksgiving dinner, please comment down below and let me know how it worked out for you. Love and blessings from Sinful Cravings, and happy holidays.